But when I was a child, I was molested as a child. I got very deep into some hard drugs when I was younger. My meal one normally is like 350 grams of rice, 5 ounces of chicken, and 2 whole eggs.
Welcome to the Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Hany Rambod, and I have a very special guest all the way from Tampa Bay, Florida. We have the 2021 Arnold Classic champion, the 2021 New York Pro champion, Nick the Mutant Walker.
What's going on?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I would say not long time no see, but we saw each other a couple weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
Yes, at the Pittsburgh Pro.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining the podcast, and we get a chance to wrap a little bit. I know at the show we got to a few minutes to talk here and there, but it's always hectic at the shows with all the fans and all the people and you guys guest posing and everything else. But I guess I have to ask you right now, what have you guys been doing since then? I've seen you also train with. You have a new training partner there in Tampa.
Yeah, Kamal,
how's that been going?
It's really good, man. For him being 51 years old, he trains really hard, and he's very high volume, which is not something I'm used to. So I've been scaling back his volume a little bit, increasing mine a little bit, while increasing his intensity a little bit more. So we find like a nice happy medium, and it's been working really well. So.
That's great. And he just recently moved there, didn't he?
Yeah, he moved, I think, the end of last year, maybe beginning of this year.
And since then, I saw that you guys also did, I think it was legs with you and Derek as well, right?
Yeah, we did. I did a video with Derek. We did legs. That was really good too.
That was funny because I think he put you through an FSC7 workout.
Yes, he did.
Was that your first FSC7 workout ever?
I think my first one that like someone knew how to do it. Yes.
What does that mean? Somebody knew how to do it.
Well, I felt like some people would like try and do it, and like I would do it, and then I feel like this doesn't feel right. There's something wrong here. So when me and Derek did it, I was like, yeah, this is brutal.
Okay, so this is the first time someone actually walked you through the proper way of doing it.
How to actually do it, and now I incorporate it quite often.
So you're using my program. I got to send you some kind of bill or something, brother. I got to send you kind of.
Do it on the leg press or leg extension, but yeah.
You don't do it on the leg press or leg extension?
I do. That's when I do it.
Oh, that's when you're adding it because you're trying to get fuller through the legs. There you go. Yeah. What happened here?
I'm back.
Oh, there you go. It's like there was like a screeny view and it had a little you flexing. So that's my. That's your what?
That's my cover on my screen. It's me flexing always.
You're always flexing. Oh,
I know.
That's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about how you came up, because again, I don't know a lot of the story. I just know a little bits and pieces. I know where you turned pro, but I kind of want to have the listeners who don't know the backstory, because sometimes it's bits and pieces. You know, back in the day, we used to have the magazines, and the magazines used to be able to give you a little bit of the reference points of when you turned pro, or kind of what made you decide to go into bodybuilding. But I kind of want to walk people through that journey a little bit, because it's so personal, and I think it's so important because it tells people why and how you were triggered to be able to get to this size and be able to put all of this commitment into trying to be, Mr. Olympia. That's the ultimate goal. And so, you started training, I believe, around 13?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and what triggered you into getting into working out? Was it a sport, or was it something that you really wanted to go straight into bodybuilding, or was it something like myself where I wanted to just get stronger and bigger to play, American football?
No. So I was always into sports, baseball, soccer, and football. But when I was a child, I was molested as a child. So growing up from that, I tended to isolate myself quite often. And training was more of the scapegoat for me to just kind of take my anger out and be alone. And honestly, I'm kind of not now, but when I was younger, I was more of a sore loser. So being in a team sport and me being one of the better ones, if we lost, and I know it was because someone on the team wasn't that good, I didn't like that. That got on my nerves. So I steered away towards sports and focused more on just training and not even competing. I didn't even have any intention on competing. I just stopped playing sports because training released a lot of my anger. And it was, like I said, it was just an scapegoat for me. And then once I got out of high school, everyone told me I should try and do a show, go into a prep, whatever. So I did my first show when I was 17. I completely bombed it. It was awful. Worst prep of my life.
Nick, I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but dude, you just kind of dropped a bomb on me because I didn't hear that situation. Was that something that you've shared with other people in the past? I've
shared it on one of my YouTube channels.
Okay.
They're my personal one. I kept that inside for years. I mean, it happened when I was 12, actually. And I didn't come out and tell my mother and father until I was 17 or 16 when I was a junior in high school. And the only reason why I even came out was because at the time, this happened in school, by the way. That's the fucked up part.
Like a teacher or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the fucked up part. It was my art teacher at the time. So how I even decided to even come out was there was a student that went home and told his mother that this certain teacher was talking very inappropriately to him. And so it got all over the news and whatever else. And my mom at the time knew we were kind of friendly with each other. He was friendly with a lot of the students, and she knew I was one of them. So she would always ask me, has he ever said anything to you? Has he done anything to you? Yada, yada. And I lied, it's embarrassing to admit things like that around that age, So I was like, no. And I absolutely hate lying, period. But I hate lying to my mother, especially. So it was actually one day I was at the gym and I just texted my mom and I said to her, don't tell anyone. And she said, well, don't tell anyone what? I said, just don't tell anyone. We'll talk later. And then at this time I wasn't driving yet. So she was like, I'm going to come pick you up from the gym. I said, no, let me finish my workout, please. And then we'll talk. So she's like, okay, fine. So I texted her when I was done. And she picks me up. She would not move the car at all. She would not drive home from the gym until I told her what happened. And I couldn't even look at her because I don't think she was expecting me to say what I said. I think she was more so expecting to say things he would say, not the fact that I was actually molested. So I couldn't look at her and say, I literally just looked down and I was like, he molested me. And the car was completely silent. And I eventually just looked up and the face that she had on her face, well, the expression that she had on her face was something that'll probably haunt me for the rest of my life because you would think someone just killed her child, honestly. So, we got home from that and, obviously my brother, my father, we all had they know now. So, I had to get investigated by the police, everything else. And it was tough. I mean, I know he's in jail. I actually don't know if he's out or not at this point. Cause I know he actually went to jail the day I did Teen Nationals against Cody Montgomery in 2013 or 14. So, and I don't know exactly how long he got, but yeah.
Well, that's pretty deep, man. I mean, yeah, I think it's very admirable of you sharing this story because there's so many people that go through this type of situation.
And the reason why I'm more open about it now is because I did take dark paths at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
I got and again, they know this now, but they didn't know it at the time. But I got very deep into some hard drugs when I was younger. A lot of fights, a lot of partying. And there was an incident that happened. I won't really get into that one, but it was a wake-up call where I had to look myself in the mirror and say, if I keep going this way, I'm probably going to end up in jail or dead at some point. Or I had to go a different path and completely change my entire life. And the only thing I knew that kept me really going was training.
It was your
so that was decided to start competing. And even though my first show, like I said, was a complete disaster, I just love the whole concept and the method of it all. And I knew my prep went wrong. So I knew once those mistakes were going to get corrected, I would be fine. And, you know, that's basically how it started.
So when you were going down that dark path, what age range were you in?
I'd say my worst was 15 to 16.
15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And getting into the drugs and basically trying to check out of reality because you were still trying to deal with it. Did you end up going through therapy or anything like that?
I did go to therapy. I tried it for a couple of weeks. Honestly, I didn't like it. I mean, I felt weird. Kind of, maybe I just had the wrong therapist and I didn't give it a real shot. I didn't really like going and sitting down and talking to a really old lady about my issues. I didn't really enjoy it. And I'm a firm believer, like, yes, do I think those tactics help people? Sure, no doubt. But I'm also a firm believer, like, if you want to get better on your own, you can, and you don't need to do certain things like that. And that was the mindset that I also developed. And, you know, I was able to do that, you know?
Well, that therapy, when did you decide to be able to say, hey, look, this working out is really helping me? I guess, did you realize that was it? Or was it just a byproduct where you just started feeling better? Or did you really notice the difference and understand that that's what was helping? That was the form of your therapy.
I do think I noticed like that was what was helping, but I also, at the same time, it was a byproduct. Okay. For me.
And then you started competing at what age?
I did my first show right after I graduated high school. It was in November. I just turned 18. I did it in November.
And when were you able to get off the drugs to be able to actually say?
As soon as I started competing, when I looked at that certain day, that was the day right before, I think it was like actually a month before I actually decided to compete. I just said, this isn't the life I want to live. You know, and a lot of the things that I was doing, you know, fighting wise, my parents used to fight a lot too. And they never understood why until I finally explained, obviously came out. So I knew I was, you know, hurting them a lot as, you know, family. And I knew, again, where my life was going to go if I just kept going down that path. So it was, you know, you're in control of your own life. And I had to take control of it. And I did that at a, you know, pretty good young age. And I think because now I'm more open about it, I like to help people to a degree, not even if they went through what I went through, just if you are going through shit, there's ways to fix it if you really want to. And, you know, that's just the way I try to promote it.
Well, absolutely. And I think that that's a testament to being able to either find a lot of people when I was growing up had a lot of problems with drinking. And drugs were a thing, but I think the drinking was a bigger thing when I was growing up. And it was just more accessible. And people would end up finding the solution at the bottom of a vodka bottle versus trying to actually deal with it. And those around me who did pick up training were able to help get through the anxiety, burning off the anxiety. I've talked about it lots of times, where that can really help with overall just depression. And because of these dark places that might have happened, and obviously you've had a very specifically, you know, harsh case of that. When you started competing, did you realize that you were doing it because you wanted to eventually become a pro bodybuilder, or was it something that you just wanted to kind of dabble in because you were enjoying working out so much that you wanted to just take it to a next level?
My first show, it was just something I was dabbling in, and I wanted to see like if I actually liked it, if I enjoyed it. And I did. And then once I started prep for my second show, like the goal was for me to turn pro at some point. Like I knew like that is what I wanted with my life.
And I believe the year that you did the teen, you're going against Cody, which was one of our guys, you know, at the time. Working.
Yes.
And so, so I got to go back and look at the photos because I think I remember that year because he had won, I think
that was his three-peat.
That was his three-peat. Yeah. Yeah. That was his third one because I remember that now. But I was like, oh, you don't look anything like that anymore. But yeah, what did you weigh at that first show? Or that first national show, I should say.
The T Nationals?
Yes.
Was 205.
Right. And that's such a prestigious show because, you know, people like Branch Warren, people like Jay Cutler, I mean, you know, Cody Montgomery, a lot of teens that I can't even remember started off there. And some people started a little bit later, i.e. Phil Heath, when he was in his, you know, 22, 23, I believe, and then eventually turning pro at 25. But then you have guys that are starting even a little bit sooner and going into that teen national show. That collegiate teen national is such a big show. I believe it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest show of the whole entire year, because it's such a big show. You have everything from collegiate all the way to teen, and anything in between. Masters is also, I believe it's it's masters all the way to teen. So it's like a 4 or 5 day event now. But so from there, was there somebody that you were looking up to when you were going into your teenage years and you were looking at competing, and then starting to come in? Who did you look up to in the bodybuilding world?
I say it all the time, Jay Cutler.
Jay?
He was actually the first bodybuilder when I was younger, like very young, that I saw and wanted to look like.
Right.
I've seen a lot. I saw Ronnie, you know, I used to see all the other guys, but I saw Jay and I was like, that's what I want to look like.
And that was what year?
Then I got to see him, you know, how he was as a person through videos and things like that. And then I was like, yeah, that's exactly like what I want to be like. And now, you know, moving forward where I'm at now, and then be able to call him a friend, you know, that's even cooler. So
yeah, Jay's a good dude. Jay's a really good guy. And that was, what year did you turn pro?
2020.
2020. So it was just
COVID year.
Yeah. So just a couple of years ago. I believe that was North American, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And then from there, you went on to do your pro debut the following year.
No. I did my pro debut.
Oh, was it Chicago?
6 weeks later at Chicago.
That's right. It was Chicago 6 weeks later.
And then I got fourth there behind, it was Akeem, Justin, and Max Charles.
Yeah, you just jumped from one right into the other, like right out of the frying pan into the fire with the big boys.
Yep.
And it was, so let's talk about your progression, because if there is anything, it's obviously a very big progression. When you started competing, what was your weight?
I started. So do you want like my the first my weight, what I weighed on stage at my first show?
Sure.
157.
You're 7 pounds heavier than me when I was competing.
Yep.
And you're a little bit taller than me. And it's one of those things. And now you're almost, I think at last time I heard you're on what, 292?
Right. What I weigh right now?
Yeah.
295.
295. So you must have had some sushi last night. 295. And then on your last show, which was the Olympia, what did you weigh?
So I was 245 there, but at the Arnold, which I think was my best look out of all 3 looks of the year, I was 250. 250.
Okay. So you felt like you came in a little bit light?
Yeah, I think the Olympia look was great. I just think we were probably a little flat. And I do believe at that point, my body was probably just overworked at that point from basically being in prep all year long. So, I think the Arnold prep was probably my best prep as far as, you know, dryness, fullness, roundness, you know, and everything else.
Well, when you started your journey, you were starting to add on weight. And when you ended up going from 150 some odd pounds all the way up to when you got your pro card, what was your weight when you at the North American?
I want to say 235, maybe
235. And right now you said your best look is 250. So now that you're prepping and you're at 295, where do you feel like you're going to land? Because you're just doing the Olympia next, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to go into the Olympia. Where do you think you're going to want to land? What's your goal?
I have a feeling, and because I do feel like my conditioning is pretty good at 295 right now. I would say 255, 260. 255,
260. So between a 5 to 10 pound gain, about 10 to 15 pounds over Olympia, but about 5 to 10 pounds over the Arnold look.
Yeah.
Okay. With just as good conditioning, if not better, correct?
I'm hoping better. Yeah.
Okay. And now you have also a new trainer. I got to meet him. Sounds like he's a good guy.
Yes.
And that is now that's kind of remote though, because I think he's up in Jersey.
He's in New York right now. Yeah.
Dom, correct?
Dom, yeah.
Dom seems like a really nice guy. I just got to meet him just for a few minutes in Pittsburgh. But with that, are you guys incorporating different strategies compared to what you were doing with Matt back in the day? Because I know you were working with Matt for a couple of years before that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what's the major strategies? Because everybody who asks me, and I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of point of reference, people want to know, what do you feel is different when you start, when you go from one trainer to another? And if you can kind of just give that, because Matt took you far, but now there's going to be some differences, right? So what are the main differences right now of what you're doing now versus what you were doing previously?
With Dom, I think because he's pretty much got my body down, as Pat, like he knows it pretty well at this point. He's just very, very detailed, especially when it comes to the diet matching the training and making sure we're recovering properly and things like that. Not saying Matt wasn't like that, but Matt was like more of send me updates. How do you feel? How do you look? We'll increase food. We'll go from there. He's very like food matches the training. Like it's very detailed, and that's not something I'm used to. Mm-hmm. But I do feel it's helped. And I'm progressing very well. The only time it does get difficult, and I tell them, is, following the workouts is like if I'm training with someone, mm-hmm. Odds are you're not going to follow a specific training that your coach has you doing, because, you're training with someone. But I make sure, when I train with Kamal and things like that, like I do what I'm supposed to a degree, and that we're both, corresponding on, our training and how we work. And Dom's been cool with that. I've told him that. He's like, as long as, you're progressing and everything's going well, it's fine. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing there's not like a dramatic big difference between the two. I would just say Dom is just a little more detailed and just really pays attention overall.
And do you feel like is the food different? Because I would really love everybody to hear what your average, what'd you eat yesterday? Can you give us a little bit of that? Because people like specifics. When you get up in the morning right now in the off season, where are you? Are you in the middle of a clean bulk? Are you in the middle of a bridge? What are you doing right now in between training programs and in between just goals?
So actually right now we are going to start a little bridge recomp phase.
Okay.
For a good 6 weeks or so before we start prep for the Olympia. Diet hasn't changed yet. But right now I get up in the morning, I do 20 minutes of cardio. My meal one normally is 350 grams of rice, 5 ounces of chicken and 2 whole eggs. And then normally I'd have my pre-meal, but since I'm going to train a little later, I had my meal 4, which I just put in place for meal 2. And that was 7 ounces of ground beef with 300 grams of rice. And then after this, I'll have my pre-meal, which is 350 grams of rice, a banana, almond butter, 7 ounces of chicken. And then post, I'll pretty much not do the same thing, but have 7 ounces of chicken, 320 grams of rice, and 100 grams of pineapple. And then my meal 5 would be 7 ounces of chicken, 12 grams of mac oil, I think 280 grams of rice. And then meal 6, I would do, again, 5 ounces of chicken, 2 whole eggs, and then 180 grams of rice.
So your protein's not too high. It's nothing crazy. It's
no, honestly. Oh, I do have a protein shake post-workout too.
Okay.
But for me personally, I have found that more moderate protein works best for me,
especially with higher carbs.
As far as digestion goes, and I have to pay very close attention to that, obviously, because of my waist, and my main goal is to keep it very tight under control. So I noticed that actually working with Matt. So when we prepped for North Americans, mm-hmm. I was doing 8 to 9 ounces maybe. And I said to him, let's lower it and see what happens. I said, 'cause I don't think I'll lose muscle at all, but it might help with my stomach. So he said, okay, let's, at that time I didn't do a protein shake with Matt. It was just 6 straight meals. So we just did 7 ounces of protein for every meal. and it was fine. And we honestly stayed with that, for the rest of the time we were together.
So you wouldn't go up or down depending on.
No, it was just 7.
7. So even if you're going low carbs, it was just 7 ounces.
7. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So just for those listeners, Nick has got his body down. I obviously have different philosophies. People are always asking me, what do I believe in? I like to be able to adjust my carbs with my proteins and my ratios. So I do like to go a little higher when I do drop, especially when it comes to calories. But when you drop, you said you go down as low as 100, 150 grams of carbs?
Yeah.
Are you dragging ass at that point?
Huh?
Are you dragging ass at that point? Are you like, yes. And you're doing how much cardio during prep?
I think we got up to about an hour fasted, but that wasn't for a long period of time.
Okay.
Like the steady that we were was like 40 for the most part.
And that's an hour fasted first thing in the morning. And then what are you doing? Are you doing treadmill, step mill? Are you doing elliptical? What kinds of cardio?
I actually ride the bike. I prefer bike.
Do you wear a helmet? You ride a bike?
Sometimes. strap on. Got my feet.
Before the podcast started, I'd always laugh, and Nick and I were joking around because he loves to do these podcasts. I've seen him just random podcasts. He just did one with Greg, and it was like that look. Give him the look. Give him the look. It's that look, and it looks like the screen is literally frozen, but this is kind of yeah, bro, I'm just answering these questions because I have to, or I feel like I'm trying to be polite. Is that somebody? So for those of you that are listening to this podcast, you definitely want to go watch the YouTube version because he has the best frozen face look. It's like, blue steel. That's his version of blue steel. But everyone's like, oh, I don't know, man. He doesn't look very intelligent. No, that's him telling you that the question was stupid.
You are not.
You're killing me. No, you're not intelligent. This is my way of just telling you you're not intelligent, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to show you with my face.
I'm just going to let you stare at this face and keep talking.
You're so good at that face. Let's go back a little bit and let's talk about the guest posing, because I think the big thing was, and I can only imagine, you probably wanted to get next to Big Ramy. And that's, he's the current, 2-time Mr. Olympia champion. And there's a lot of speculation about how you felt about your placing with the Olympia, which we'll get to as well. But when it came to the guest posing, when you heard that Big Ramy didn't show up, I mean, what was your thought process in that whole weekend? I'd love to hear about that because it was such a buzz-filled weekend.
I mean, yeah, I was a little disappointed. I thought that would have been, especially us being both in the off season, I think that would have been a really good time to see how we stacked really against each other, and in hopes he's training and I'm training hard. And I think that would have gave people, a good hype for the Olympia as well. But I mean, I was a little disappointed. I thought it would have been really cool to stand next to him and being able to just kind of also have fun on stage and not have it so serious, but at the same time, let people see like what's going to come for the Olympia. But it happens.
Well, what do you think? Do you think that when you were up on stage, you said, okay, I'm basically checked out of being able to go against him because he's not here. He didn't show up. And obviously now I think there's some information coming out why, or some different things that he's put out. And I know that he's supposed to be planning on trying to come out here from what I heard. But in that point, you got a guy that beat you, 2 guys that beat you. You have Brandon Curry, and then you also had Hunter Labrada. How did you feel when you guys stood next to each other? What was going on in your head during that guest posing a couple weeks ago?
I'm not going to get beaten again. Pretty much. It was fun, but I'm like, not this year.
So you're basically saying to yourself, look, this is what I have to offer, and I'm just going to show you how much I'm improving, and I'm not going to be able to get beat by you guys.
And I think, look, everyone's making improvements. I think Hunter's making improvements. Obviously, Brendan didn't look like he was training that much. I know he likes to take a lot of time off, so that's how he does his stuff. But I know I made quite the improvements and made them quickly. And we still have a very long time to the Olympia. So I'm only going to make more as soon as we get into prep. And the thing is that no one really understands. And I don't even know if you know this, but I haven't had an off season. And because you got to think, and I started prep for North Americans in like March of 2020.
Right.
And then I went 6 weeks later, I went right into the Chicago. And then 2 months after that, I started prep for New York. And then I had like a little 6-week break again before we started prep for the Arnold. And then 2 weeks later was the Olympia. So since I've turned pro, I've not had an off season.
So this is your first off season since turning pro, and everything has just been back to back to back shows. Yeah.
And then even the little improvements I've made from turning pro to even a little bit from Chicago to New York to the Arnold with barely any off season. And now I just had I'm having over a year to improve. And in my mind, it's going to be crazy.
Well, you know, there's somebody else that also you guys had a little bit of a going back and forth with. And before it was Blessing, right? I mean, it was kind of one of those things that you and Blessing last year were going head to head, and you came out the victor, and Blessing just didn't seem to peak.
Yeah.
And now Blessing got a new coach, working well with George, putting things together. Now, how do you feel about that? Because I heard, like a lot of people have who follow bodybuilding, you guys on stage together. And honestly, like there are some really, you know, bullshit rivalries out there. And then there's ones that are kind of like they're good and they're very valid. And I feel like that's where I put you two guys, where it's some shit talking, but it's also legit, where there's some, you know, he's got some strengths to his physique. And even though he didn't qualify last year, now he's made improvements. So Blessing versus you, what did you say on stage? Because I saw you guys mouthing some things back and forth and not everybody was able to hear. So when you saw him and he won, you know, kind of the stuff that was off the mic, what did you guys say to each other?
Oh, it was just more so, you know, I was trying to be polite, you know, good job, congrats. He's just like, where's the microphone? I need the microphone. And I already know he was getting
wait. That was a little bit of a Blessing-esque move. So tell me how Blessing would say it.
Hold on, let me put my Blessing face on. He'd be like, give me the mic, man. I need the mic. Yeah, basically from that's when he started it. We had a nice little banter. I love Blessing, but there's no way. It's not going to happen this year.
You're saying there's no way he's going to beat you?
No, he's not even in my vision.
So let me ask you this. Do you think, tell me why?
Well, look, he looked great. He did. He looked phenomenal. You know, he has a very good physique, obviously, great symmetry, wide back, little waist. But I don't think his legs are going to be where they need to be by the Olympia. I don't think his hamstrings are going to be where they need to be. His glutes are going to be where they need. He has the upper body, right? He just doesn't have the lower half.
Yeah, he has a beautiful upper body. And his lower half has improved, everyone. Don't say that it hasn't, but you're just saying that it just can't caught up is what you're saying. They're not going to catch up.
And I don't think, you know, they're magically going to grow a dramatic amount of size by the Olympia. But I do think Blessing will do extremely well at his first Olympia. 100%. I do believe he'll be in the top 10 for sure, but just not, he's not in my vision here.
So you think that right now for this year, it's not even going to be close is what you're saying?
No.
Okay. So Blessing, if you're out there, we'd love to have you on the podcast. I want to hear your rebuttal to this.
Oh, I can't get it.
So obviously, like I said, it's very, very just, it does create a little bit of that entertainment.
No, it's fun.
It
is fun. And I thoroughly enjoy doing it. I honestly think it's good for the sport to have that. I mean, obviously there's, you know, limitations here. You don't want to go too far, and, you know, other people that will try and do it, it won't, you know, be the same. But we have a very good, me and Blessing have like a good connection to where we're able to do things like that.
Did you ever feel like in the last 2 years this has been going on, it was ever to the point where you're like, it pissed you off to the point where you're just like really kind of like fuming?
In the beginning, because I didn't know him, right? I didn't know who the guy was. and he started to call me out, and I didn't get mad. I remember, so even how it started before New York, right? I don't know how many weeks out were before we started, but all I know is I was taking a nap on my couch, and I wake up and my DMs were flooded. And I'm like, what? I napped for 20 minutes and what's going on? So I'm looking at my phone and it's just this guy. I'm like, who the fuck is Blessing? I have no idea who this kid is. And I'm listening. He's just calling me out on this shit. And at first I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Quite the hype. And he just kept going. And I'm like, yo, who the fuck is this guy, man? So now because we haven't spoke. I don't know who he is. Nothing.
So you guys had never communicated before that directly?
No, like there was no like, yo, let's stir some hype. You know what I mean? Nothing.
Yeah, because some of the guys will do that. They'll hit up each other.
Yeah.
And I won't name any names, but they're usually in the men's physique category, believe it or not. And they will sit down and say, hey, look, let's try to create hype. Let's go ahead and let's do this and that. None of that was going on with you guys. You literally just woke up off the couch, saw that you started getting blown up from friends and people forwarding you messages that he was talking shit. Yeah. And that's how it started. Pretty much. And like I said, at the beginning, I got mad. And then after a while, I just stopped caring and I just kept going with it and we had fun. And then we saw each other at New York. And we were just cool. Like we joked with each other backstage. We joked with each other. We had a great time. And then, we started training with each other frequently. I would travel to Boca and train with him at Redcon, or he would come down and train Revive when I was there. Mm-hmm. And we just have fun, man. I've invited him down to come to Tampa if he ever wants to. Yeah, that would actually be cool to see but at the same time, he is taking this very seriously because I see that he doesn't joke around. He's very serious. Yeah. He really feels like it's 0-1 and there's a rematch. No, not this year. Well, that's what he feels because I can tell because he's dead serious. I've seen people in this industry that are very dead serious, i.e. Kai Green versus Phil Heath, where that people know that that was not made up. Real. Straight. Yeah. That was real. That was real. Where Phil looked like he was just holding back and there was going to come to blows, bumping elbows, the ponytail getting whipped with the ponytail. Exactly. So if Blessing comes out with a ponytail and he tries to whip you with a ponytail, I got some pointers for you. But but at the end of the day, yeah, he's very serious about being able to do that. Do you see that? I know that you and Hunter, how close are you guys? We're good friends. I love Hunter. I actually, there's no problem. I actually wish he would be a little more open so we could stir hype a little bit. I know he's not that type of guy, so when I would do hype with people, I don't want it to be like you're a dickhead. We're not friends. Like I want to make sure we're all on the same page to a degree now. But I don't think Hunter rolls that way. So I just kind of let him be. But we're good friends. I mean, we actually went out to eat a couple months ago before I moved to Tampa. He was down in Revive to hang out for a little while. And yeah, we had a good time. It was good. Yeah, he seems like a really good guy. Obviously, I'm a big fan of his father, Lee. And it's one of those things where I do like the camaraderie that I've seen lately, where you guys have been doing stuff with you, with Blessing, stuff you've done in the past, outside of this head-to-head going into this Olympia, but also with the situation with you now being closer to Derek and you guys are living in proximity to one another and you seen him on that stage as well. I'd love to get your opinion on that. What did you feel when he got up on stage or you guys were backstage pumping up because he kind of got thrown in the mix with you guys with Big Ramy not being there for the Pittsburgh. How did that feel and what did you think of that situation in regards to what he honestly, I see Derek almost every day, right? So I know Derek's big. I know that. It wasn't until I saw pictures to where I was like, oh shit, Derek's big. I'm like, oh no. So yeah, so when you're backstage, it looked like you guys were still in the gym, right? I mean, it was kind of because I see him every day. I thought, it was just I didn't really pay. Like I said, I know he's big,
But it wasn't until like I actually saw pictures of all of us, and I was like, "Uh-oh."
Do you think that he's got a shot if he decides to go open? If it's something that he decides to go, because obviously he's still on the fence about it, stuff that we're talking about, and
in my personal opinion,
yeah,
if perhaps he did go into the Open this year, I could see him being in the top 5 for sure. Without a doubt.
So you think he can mix it up with you guys?
Mm-hmm. I think him, I don't know his weight obviously at the moment, but him at a good 225, 230, that's dangerous. That's really fucking dangerous for everyone.
Not 250, literally. Not 250 on stage like some of the other guys think that he should be. He was 260 on stage during the guest posing. All he needs to do is, come down to 250 and shred it, and he's going to be able to win. And I'm like, 250 and shredded. That was Phil Heath at a higher, height.
Yeah.
So
I think him, probably like 230, dry out to 225, whatever you guys' methods are, and he's.
Yeah, I think
he'll make.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we're going to have to make that decision pretty soon, because he is very, very focused, wanting to really improve.
He tells me every day, and I'll tell you this, he tells me he'll do whatever you tell him to do, but I know he wants to be in the Open.
Yeah, I do know he wants to be in the Open. And, I think that it's getting to the point where we're going to have to make a decision pretty soon here. But at the end of the day, there's different routes to that. And
of course,
the ultimate goal is to do one more 212 was the ultimate goal, and then be able to move in. But now with his weight, he's causing me a little problems.
And that was one thing I always tell him, like he's big, but he's lean.
Yeah.
He's not just big, So it's like, and I know he struggled last year. So it's, what is this year going to be like?
Yeah. It's going to be even tougher for sure.
Exactly.
It's going to be even tougher for sure. But yeah, being on stage with somebody and understanding, or being in the gym with somebody, you see a different type of physique until you get under the lights, you get a pump, and it can make, there's guys, gym bodies, and no offense to Dennis James, but because Dennis and I are friends and good friends, it's one of those things where Dennis always looked like Mr. Olympia in the gym. You see him in the gym. Then when you turn around and he would come up on stage, he just wouldn't have that same look. But then you have other athletes that are the opposite. They go, "Oh, you look good in the gym," but then you get up on stage and you're like, "Huh?" Yeah, you get that rounder, bubblier look, and then it's much more impressive by the time that happens. So it is quite a bit of difference. But we haven't talked about Hadi. Let's talk a little bit about Hadi, because obviously Hadi was up in there in the top 5, last year, and he's very dangerous at any show. And obviously I'm a bit biased because of the fact that I've been working with him and he's one of my athletes. But what do you feel about Hadi? Tell me,
Hadi, when we were backstage, right, when he has a shirt on, I didn't think much of it, I'll be honest. I was like, he's all right. And then he took his shirt off and starts pumping up. And I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, are you shitting me? He was probably the most conditioned guy. I honestly think out of the most conditioned, I would say he was the most, and I was second as far as conditioning goes. But just the way he just looked, I'm like, I honestly said this already. I wouldn't have been upset if he won
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Hadi, yes, obviously he's smaller than all of us a little, but he's conditioned. He's proportioned. He has great lines. Like there's no missing points to him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think he's very complete, and I think that the conditioning is what carries him with that graininess that he has from many, many years of training, very many, many years of competing. It's a seasoned look. With you guys, you and Derek and some of these guys, that takes a little bit of time, because you're 28 now?
27.
27. I'm sorry, I'm trying to age you. You're like, don't give me that year back, bro. Give me that year back. So you're 27 years old. You're super young, and this muscle that you just put on is super new. And a lot of it has just been here for the last couple of years. So it does take time to kind of get that grainier and grainier look.
Yeah, the mature look.
Exactly. So that continues, and you start to peak in your 30s. So you got a ways to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Hadi has so much seasoning from all of the training, all of the competitions he's done in the past, all of those things that he does. I mean, if you see him train, he trains like a freaking animal. They call him the wolf, but he literally is an animal.
Yeah,
he is so hungry to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people have seen that. And I think that reflects in his physique. But in the guys that were not in the top 5, who else do you see coming up right now that could possibly be, that's either new, that hasn't competed in the Olympia, but are qualified or could possibly be qualified, or people that were not quite in the top 5, but you feel that could really make some moves up there? Because this is something where I like to get people's opinions, because everybody has different opinions, especially when you talked about somebody like yourself who's actually been on the stage, and you're very open about your opinion and you don't tend to hold back.
No, I think so. One person that hasn't been in Olympia that's going to be in it this year that caught my eye was Samson.
Mm-hmm.
I think Samson's going to do a lot of I think he'll be in the top 10 this year.
Okay.
Without a doubt. I think Ian will improve. I used to, obviously not now, but I would see him every day. And I know he was working extremely hard. And as long as, Bonak's situations are good to go, I think Bonak's going to shock a lot of people, especially with how he looked at the Arnold. I think he had, you could say the old Bonak was back. So if he even improves from that, that's dangerous in itself. I would like to see, I know a lot of mistakes went on in James Hollingshead's prep. And I think, he could be really good as long as he nails it. I do think James could be up there.
Yeah. Doesn't he have a new coach, or is that something that?
No, I think he's still working with Patrick.
Oh, Patrick. Okay. Maybe it was a new sponsor. I'm thinking maybe
Yes, he's with Yamamoto now.
Got it. And I believe he used to be with Redcon, correct?
Yes.
Got it. And at that point now, I say the same thing. I think James is somebody who is just waiting, kind of like a Blessing situation where I think, you saw a Blessing that could have dialed it in. So now he just needs to find the right formula. Now, it doesn't mean he has to change coaches. It just means that they have to try to learn his body and be able to kind of get that body dialed in properly. Yep. Because for as much as we know, it could have been what I like to call the F-up fairy. Could have just came in the night before, 2 days before, because sometimes sprinkling that secret sauce on the last couple of days, whether it's water manipulation, cutting it too soon, not cutting it out far enough, or same thing with sodium manipulation. When it comes to those things, it could be a dramatic difference. Let me talk to you about somebody that I feel we all felt that was going to place a little bit higher in the Arnold, but Brett. What do you think about Brett with that situation? Look on your face. with him, because I mean, he definitely is putting on some massive amount of size.
Yeah. I just think that might have been a peak issue. Honestly, I don't know if I think they did talk about it. I think they maybe try to feed him too much to give him more of a fuller look.
Okay.
But I think Brett looks better, not flat by any means, but he needs to be conditioned. He needs to be hard. He needs to be grainy and somehow have that fullness as well. But I don't, like I said, I don't know exactly what they did, but I think they try to push the food a little too hard on him. And then he came in a little watery. I think his stomach was a little bit extended as well, and it was hard for him to control it. And I mean, I think if he came in with more of the look he had at Chicago, when he lost to Hunter, I think he would have probably placed higher.
So you just feel like they possibly just spilled a bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's also people saying he's packing on muscle too fast, and it's going to, ruin his lines or whatever. But, they said that about me.
I was going to say, they could have said the same thing about you.
I remember when I did USA's 2019, they told me I was tapped out at that point. And, that's why I don't like to say that about people, because you never know. It could have been literally the final week that just went wrong.
Right.
But I think Brett can be great. I think Brett can be really good. I just think because he has a tight waist the way he does, I don't think overeating him is the right direction to go.
Yeah, and like I said, this whole thing about the last couple of days, it happens to everybody. It doesn't matter what level of coach you are.
Boy, it's true. You could have you could a week out look like you're about to win,
right? And
then you get on stage and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, and you go through what I call the fog of war, right? The fog of prep. You're trying to get to a certain look, or you're trying to chase perfection, and you'll never hit it. You'll never hit perfection. But what you're trying to do is you're just trying to make those minor adjustments. And sometimes you overcook it and they come in a little bit too full, look a little spilled, or you feel like, okay, great, you're full and shredded. And then by the time they get on stage, they start to flatten out for whatever reason. So all of these things tend to happen all the time. So you have to turn around and learn from the situation what you did, whether it was a carb issue, whether it was a fats issue, whether it was a sodium issue, whether it was a hydration issue. And then you got to turn around and be able to take those notes and say, okay, whether they're mental or physical, take those notes and be able to learn from them. So that's really what it comes down to, especially at the elite level. It's really difficult to be able to recreate things by using the same exact variables. You can't do it. You can't turn around and say, exactly. Yeah. Every prep is different, and your physique and your biochemistry is different. So where your body is at that particular point, you can't say, hey, I looked my best in 2019 at this show. I'm going to go back and do that exact same thing over again. But it happens all the time. I am at trade shows, I'm at events, I'm at bodybuilding shows, and people will come up to me and go, you know what? I looked my best here at this show. I'm going to go back to doing that. And I said, okay, fundamentally, you can do some similar things. Yeah. But at the end, if you try to do that, your metabolism can be different. You have a completely different metabolism. Your metabolism can be much, much faster. So as you are progressing, you have to learn what your body is trying to do. And if you're trying to manipulate water, carbohydrates, dryness versus fullness, those are things that you have to take in consideration of where your body is now versus where it was when you were 10 pounds lighter, or if you were coming off of a double prep, or if your body was tired, or any of those things, because your body creates windows, and these windows are, for lack of a better term, they're opportunities. And if you don't feed at certain moments, you're going to start to go backwards. So I've had it before with my athletes where I found out that they didn't eat when they were supposed to eat. And then they go, I don't know what happened. Well, because you underate, because you didn't add in during those windows. And those windows are so important. And I talk about them more and more during my seminars, where if you don't create opportunities or maximize those opportunities, what you're going to do is you're going to stay the same or even go a little bit backwards, because your body won't progress and break those plateaus. So you have to figure that out, and you can't make up or extend windows with PEDs or doing extra cardio or any of those things. A lot of them are diet related. Now, there are little things you can do to help maximize that. But again, I can go on and on about it, but I won't bore you, anybody here listening to this. But what needs to happen is that people really need to learn about when those opportunities were, go back and be able to say, okay, now that I'm going into this prep, what did I learn? And how did I possibly spill over or became flat because I, cut my sodium too soon, cut my water too soon. So those are the things that I think that a lot of people need to listen to and understand as they go through and understand their body if they're prepping. It doesn't matter if you're getting ready for a bodybuilding show or if you're getting ready for a photo shoot and you aren't really trying to peak. Anytime you're trying to peak, those are the things that you have to learn as you start to progress through your career.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So again, going into this thing right now, are you worried about any particular person when you're getting ready on, for this show right now? Or is it something that your mentality is, I'm just kind of fixated on myself? Or do you like to kind of use that for fuel? Because everybody motivates differently. And I'm very curious, because I always try to link in with my athletes to really understand their psyche. So where is your psyche with that? Is that something that you really motivate yourself by creating those like mental rivalries, or what do you do?
I do that a lot. Yeah. Like, I know how to motivate myself, but I also create scenarios in my head when I'm in prep, like every day, whether it's I have one with Hadi, or I have one with Ramy, or one with Hunter, any of the top 4 that beat me, I create little, situations in my head, and it'll just whoop.
And when you say you're creating the situations, are you thinking to yourself, hey, I'm competing against this guy in the gym, he's training like this? Or is it more of like pose for
No,
pose?
I look at it as we're both on stage and we're posing down in front of, the judges. And we're like, not, I don't want to say going to war, but like we're battling out as hard as we can. And within the training session, you have to train hard to present that on stage. So that's where I use it.
Well, I think that's a great way of being able to sum up motivation, because everybody goes through those tired moments, and some people don't realize how to, or they don't have those coping mechanisms of how to be able to get through that. So they just kind of, especially I would say amateur people who don't make their living doing this. When it comes to pros, this is how you get paid, right? Everyone's going for a $400,000 first place trophy, the Olympia trophy, the $400,000 check, bigger endorsement deals, all of those things that are tied to winning. But do you see yourself as one of those that you kind of have to like lock down when you get ready for the show and you have to block people out? Or do you feel like you're similar to what you are now in the off season? Because you're very jovial, you're very, kind of like upbeat. Or do you feel like you have to kind of like shut that down?
I'm like this in like the beginning of prep. And then once I hit a certain mark, I lock down completely. And I'm no longer the funny, happy-go-lucky Nick anymore. And it's like the complete dickhead comes out, and we're going to town now. It's strictly gym. That's all I care about. Anything on the outside, you cause me stress, you no longer exist to me for the rest of the prep. And that's just the way it is.
So you basically just push those people outside because that's not on your frequency.
Yeah.
That's great, because I think that's 100%. I believe in that, because otherwise it creates a lot of noise that you don't need to deal with.
And yeah. Do you know how many times, like, how many people I used to hang up on the phone with, if they were like trying to talk to me about like problems? I'm like, I don't have time for this.
The best is, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'll just hang up. Like, that's how I'm feeling.
If you need me to explain to you how I'm feeling at 6 weeks out with 150 grams of carbs or however many grams with cardio.
That is like, unless you're like my mother or something, do not ask me that question. Yeah. Or my coach, like, don't ask me how I'm feeling. Like, how I'm feeling.
Let me ask you this. Let's talk a little bit about diet, because I wanted to go back to that. Are you doing functional cheat meals? Are you doing structured cheat meals? Because some of the questions I've gotten for a lot of pros is, what do these pros do for their cheat meals? Are you doing cheat meals on the regular, or are you doing them just doing a meal? Are you doing a full day? Talk a little bit about what Nick does.
No, honestly, I don't. And Dom has to yell at me sometimes. I don't really do cheat meals. Like, periodically, if a couple of the friends want to go out to eat, I'll go out and eat. But I don't really go out of my way to be like, hey, you know what, I want a Chick-fil-A today or anything. I just stick to my meal plan, and that's really it. Like, unless I have to travel, I will go out to eat and have fun and do all that. But like when I'm home, I'm pretty much structured the whole time.
So we used to take Jay to In-N-Out Burger, right?
Yeah, I've seen the videos.
So do you do burgers?
Yeah. But look, my thing is, and I'm sure you probably already know, but I go to the Cheesecake Factory. Like,
yeah, that's one of those things that's actually been out there. I got heard a couple of times. That's your favorite. Anytime
people are like, where do you want to go to eat? I'm going to the Cheesecake Factory. Like, they have good burgers, they have good steaks, they have good dessert, good appetite. Everything is where I need it to be. Okay,
walk us through the last time you went to Cheesecake Factory. What did you eat? What did you order?
I got, look, this is going to sound bad because I shouldn't be eating this, but I like their Caesar salad. So I always start.
Why is that bad?
Because it's salad. It's not a cheat meal.
Well, you like the taste of it.
It does. It's fantastic. First, I load up all on the brown bread. I'm a brown bread type of guy. I need the brown bread. I don't want the white shit. Give me the brown shit only. Just skip that. I get like 3 orders of that. I ordered myself a nice Caesar salad, and then I like to get the bacon burger with 2 orders of sweet potato fries. And then I like red velvet cheesecake.
Are you doing the brown bread with the butter?
No, I'm not a butter guy. I'll be honest. I can just eat that shit regular.
Just 3 loaves. Just load them up.
Right down the hatch.
And then what kind of cheesecake?
Red velvet.
Oh, is that the only one?
That's my favorite. Yeah. And if I'm feeling kind of plain, I like to just get the banana cheesecake or something simple.
Yeah, I'm a banana guy. I like banana cheesecake. Back when I can find it gluten-free now, because I haven't had it in 10 years, 12 years. It's like everybody, make sure it's gluten-free. Okay, so let me walk me through one last thing, because I really am very curious. I had a couple of podcasts ago talk about personal life, but I don't want into details. But do you feel that stability matters to you when it comes to your daily, or do you feel like you have it under control? Because some people I know, and I've worked with in the past, really felt a big difference. They would be, and this is not a particular pro, it's an amateur that I used to work with, that said to me, I am going to get this prep right. I'm going to be very stable. And I said, so what are you going to do different? And he's like, I'm going to get a girlfriend. I'm going to get a girlfriend. And I was like, why do you need a girlfriend? And he said,
that can create instability sometimes.
Well, it can, depending on who you choose. But
yes,
but you see a lot of these people that are successful that have that. But you're one of those few that are single. And that I was just checking, is that something that you feel on the back end where you have that support system? Or do you feel like you have everything so under lock that you're able to do that? Are you able to just kind of do it yourself with your support team, your coach, everything that you're doing?
I think this is, for me, I felt for a majority of my life, I have done every prep alone. So that's just what I'm used to. So yes, for me, I know I'm on lock by myself. I don't need that type of stability. But on the other hand, I know if I had that stability, it would just make things a lot easier as well. But I think because I've done it on my own so much, and I know I've executed it by myself for so long, mentally, I think it's hard for me to let somebody in and be a part of that, because, I've also been in relationships where it has created more instability than anything. And I'm the type, again, you cause me any stress,
you're going to cut you off.
I don't even, let's talk it out. Like, no, goodbye. I don't have time.
You just delete them from your phone.
And sometimes I feel like that's a bad trait to have, because I feel maybe sometimes I should be a little understanding more. But with where I'm at in my career, and I know I apply a lot of pressure on myself, I like to just kind of escape the whole world. And I know if I'm by myself and I do everything by myself, nothing can really go wrong. The only thing that can go wrong is if I let it go wrong.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. I think that at the end of the day, as long as you're able to get the job done, there's more than one way to skin the cat, right? And if you can be able to do that, it's just that when people are saying, I need this so I don't party while I prep, or I need this so I can stay on top of my diet, or I think that's bad. It is bad.
I think that because it's, again, right? It's like, so what happens when that thing is gone? You can't do it by yourself.
No.
And so I think now, again, you should be able to handle it by yourself and bring somebody into it that can support and understand it. To me, that's the ultimate stability and ultimate team. But if you're relying on somebody to make you stay focused, it's never going to work. Never going to work.
Now, let me ask you about the addiction that people are talking about with bodybuilding, right? They go, hey, could it be, do you think that it's more of the physical aspect of the addiction, or do you feel like it's more of the hormonal aspect that people get triggered into this?
I'm going to say both. I'll definitely say both. I think, well, physical, if you're referring to looks.
No, I'm talking about like being able to go through and train to get the anxiety out versus some people go, hey, look, I went and did a shot of test and I got to go into the gym because it makes me feel like, gives me that functional high, that androgen high that people are starting to talk a little bit more about and saying that it could be possibly addictive.
Well, I think it both plays a role. But for me, it was always a physical thing. Like whether I'm on, I'm bridging, I'm off, it never mattered. Training to me was always a physical thing that helped me feel good, helped me, release everything and go about my day. Now I feel if, you're the other way and it's the addiction, in my opinion, that's just going to lead down a path of disaster because, we all started training, naturally. And I'm sure we all, got our highs from that just being natural. So, and then you add the enhancement on top of it. And if that becomes an addiction, you're just going to push the envelope much harder and it's going to end up backfiring.
And I think that's huge for all these younger people that are getting into the sport, because what they don't realize is the training is it's all about. At least that's what I believe in. And a lot of people are chasing things in the bottom of a vial or a bottle or whatever. And it's not a, handful of pills or any of those things. The true testament to training and getting better and improving is training and then diet. And then if you decide to do anything on top of that, that's fine. But even at the situation that you're in, I feel that you've kind of gotten a little bit of a bad rap because people said, hey, look, these people don't take care of themselves. Look at Nick Walker because he's got some varicose veins, or he's got this, or he's got that, or look at all the size he put on, because everybody wants to point the finger to that. But I do want to touch on the fact that you've also been doing a lot of, kind of self-care where you've been getting blood work done and some of those things. So can you talk a little bit about what you've done to make sure to try to minimize any of those situations?
Well, yeah. So, first, let me talk about my varicose veins. I have had them checked.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with them. And I was told as long as there's nothing wrong with them, there's no need to do anything to them, because sometimes if you get rid of them, they can sometimes come back even worse. So as long as they're fine, they're not giving me any issues, there's no reason to touch them. So I'll clear that part up. But as far as the other stuff, I believe I like to get blood work done after a show. I like to get blood work done even before I go into a prep to make sure everything's good. And I think, me getting my EKG checked, my echo done, my calcium score checked, I think that's very important to get done. I would say every 6 months to a year, just to make sure everything's good. What is the ideal of that? It's like, you don't have to do it as frequent, but I feel as bodybuilders, getting those 3 tests done a little more frequently is just more important because of what we do. But I'm also a fan of getting blood work done, I'd say every 4 months. Like I said, after, you have a cycle, after a show, whatever the case is, before you start, just to make sure everything's aligned and you're good to go. Especially with all the deaths, that are happening, it's very important, especially still being young, that my health is in check every time. Because as much as I love this sport, as much as, I'll go all in for this sport, I want to win. I don't want to die. I have a life to live. I know I have a life after bodybuilding. And again, I know at some point I'm going to get married. I might even have a kid. But beside that, there's life after bodybuilding that I want to explore. And that's a lot of things. That's another shit I get for, because people ask me all the time why I don't, quote unquote, enjoy life right now. And my reasoning is because I know bodybuilding is not a longevity sport. I could be done by the time I'm 33. I could be done maybe when I'm 40, depending where my life is. You really don't know. But again, there's life after bodybuilding. So for me, I like to be 100% focused as long as I can be until I decide to, pull off and be done, Well,
I think that's a really good philosophy, because I think a lot of people try to create balance a little too soon. And if you try to create balance too soon, you end up creating reasons and excuses for you not to work hard. And I feel that you're not going to go on vacation for the first couple of years that you open up a business. And
I haven't been on a vacation since I started competing. Because I don't, maybe I should, after competing at the Olympia for a week, sure, I think that's okay. But I train after the Olympia, on Sunday, I'm back in the gym still, whether it's, just getting a quick little pump or whatever the case is. For me, it just helps me feel good. If I take a vacation, I just feel like my schedule's out of whack. I'm losing focus, and it just messes with me too much.
You feel like you might be just feeling guilty? Yeah.
Yeah. Even like after a show, I love to eat. I'll eat like an asshole after a show. Even, the day after I will. But Monday, I'm back on a diet and I'm good to go.
How many pounds you put on?
After the Olympia, probably from Friday to Monday Saturday to Monday. I think it was like 15 pounds.
That's not too bad.
No.
Oh, 15 pounds isn't too bad at all.
No. Because the thing is, like, I know how to, like, I eat, but I also know when to stop, kind of eat again and stop. So, and like I said, I eat like an asshole, but I don't like gorge myself to where like I'm throwing up neither. But yeah, I like to enjoy after the show, and then I go back on a solid, back on plan. For me, like the what do they call it? The taste, whatever, the cravings, they fade really fast for me. Like I don't.
It sounds to me like
I get a little something sweet in my mouth. I'm fine.
Yeah, you're mentally now satisfied, and now you're like, okay,
just give me a muffin, and I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, but the hunger is basically what's really cool, because you're very hungry in terms of just wanting to go to that next level. And
yeah, and again, so I guess that's where I get shit, because some people are like, maybe you should, relax a little bit. I'm like, I'm going to have plenty of time in my life to relax. It's pedal to the metal until I'm done,
Well, you're by the beach. You don't go to the beach?
No, I actually don't like sand.
And they say don't take sand to the beach. You don't even like sand.
If I go, I'm the type of guy that wears shoes to the beach. I don't want my feet to get all. I don't like the feeling of sand in my toes. And then you leave the beach and you get like that icky feeling. I don't like it.
You're like, I could get a meal in and go to the gym.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this.
Well, but the good thing is, that about yourself. So when you do this type of thing, that you're also improving, and you don't want to end up skipping a step, because if you do, you feel like you're maybe slowing down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are all things that really honestly make a champion. I mean, Jay Cutler, same thing. Ronnie Coleman, same thing. A lot of people that were in that same mindset who became legends in this industry about being able to do that. As long as you're able to keep your health under check, because we all want to see you healthy and have a long career. I mean, I'm the first to be able to say that. I'm a fan. I love the fact that we joke around. I think we have a very similar sense of humor.
Yeah.
When we joke around about stuff. And so it's always a pleasure. But again, I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time, coming on the podcast, being able to shoot the shit a little bit, talk a little bit about the different nuances when it comes to the rivalries and all of those things. And I didn't want to bore anybody with training stuff, because at the end of the day, you've done plenty of podcasts talking about sets and reps and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, in the past, guys, in summary about the training, I'm going to summarize things. In the past, he was doing HIIT, and then now he's doing a volume/HIIT combination. And that's what he's been working on. The food, 7 ounces of chicken or any kind of protein, beef probably once, maybe a day, I'm assuming.
Yeah, pretty.
Yep. And then, are you a fish guy by the chance? Or do you do?
No way.
No, none. Do you even like sushi? Sushi or no sushi?
No sushi, no fish, nothing, man.
Dude, you're like Ronnie. Ronnie didn't do sushi either.
No. Mm-mm.
Wow.
If we go out for sushi, just make sure it has hibachi there. I'm a hibachi guy.
Got it. Yeah, tell that to Derek, because he loves sushi. The guy can sit down and eat 20 rolls.
Yeah, I have tried sushi. I've tried it multiple times. I'll throw up every time.
Really? To that point where you throw up?
Yeah. Yep.
That's crazy.
Not because I'm eating too much. I'll just eat a little bit, but I'll throw up.
Literally throw up, or you just feel like you're gonna throw up?
Oh no, I'll throw up.
And just because
I'll go to the bathroom. I gotta throw up.
So no anybody that wants to have a date with Nick, don't take him out. Like, any girls.
Yeah, don't take me to a sushi date, because I'll throw up on you.
I could totally see you doing that too.
Well, 'cause I feel bad. I'm like, well, I'm not going to say I don't like it. They were trying to be thoughtful, so
Well,
I'll fake it, and I'll be like, well, nah.
but you're not throwing up at the table, right? You're not. You're just at least going to the
No, I'll
bathroom.
go to the bathroom.
If you can make it to the bathroom.
Well, that's another thing. Like, if someone's in like mid convo, and I'm like, oh shit, it's bubbling. I feel bad being like, hold that thought. I got to go throw up. You know what I mean?
Would you tell the girl you're throwing up?
No, I would like just like, I got to pee. I'll be right back.
Out of your mouth. Like, just, wow.
Pop some gum real quick. Make sure my breath don't stink. I'm good to go.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. I think you would do better off at barbecue. So when you get out to Texas,
I love barbecue. I'm a barbecue guy.
Yeah. Well, we have lots of barbecue here in Texas, man. So next time you're in town, we definitely got to take you to barbecue.
I'm down. We'll plan that out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And tell Fuad, we got to still do the podcast, man. We've been talking about it forever. We got to,
I'll tell him later. I'll text him.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you. And also I just want you to give you a shout out to your sponsor. I mean, Hostel, Fuad's been doing a great job promoting the brand, promoting bodybuilding. So I definitely want to give a shout out to him.
Yeah, he's really cool to work with. I thoroughly enjoy being part of this brand. I think it's more my niche as far as being with like a bodybuilding brand. And he's got great people on the team. So I feel like this is a good place for me right now.
Yeah. And he has an amazing woman by his side. Summer.
Yeah.
I've known her for a very long time. And she's definitely his rock, you know, because I've seen what she's done. Just even with other companies she's worked for before they started Hostel. And again, good people.
Of course. Absolutely.